also this one.
They're two microphones.
Okay. Ha! Electric Boogaloo.
Okay, Ella. Are you gonna do the trivia one?
Alright, ask away. I was hoping we could play Disney trivia.
Oh, well, I have the Broadway musical trivia and the Disney trivia. Maybe we could play all of it later because I think it's hard to do without a surface to do it on here.
Yeah.
Why don't we go in the guest room? We'll play a little Broadway trivia and then we'll start putting out the food.
Okay. Yeah. Electric Boogaloo.
Ella. Treat it with respect, please. This is still the synagogue live stream.
Sorry.
Yeah, but you gotta wait. You roll the weight. You gotta wait. Pick it up. No more yellows. You're good. Blue. Okay, what?
I'll use the black position.
Your turn. That was not a roll. There were no more yellows. Yellow.
For some reason, I keep eating these. get the black. I need the black. Did you get the black? Did you get the black
No.
one?
That's two black.
I didn't see that.
Different.
I need to get the black. Run, timer. Oh yeah. I didn't know. No, no, no.
That's the last one.
Wait. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, it's a musical of Hamilton. The character of John Adams during the second country.
Wait.
How would you
Who
have
said
a
Hamilton?
one?
You're making up words. In the 1969 Broadway musical 1776. You're making up words.
I thought it was Hamilton.
No, we are.
John Adams.
No. Was introduced.
Was introduced to the character.
No, we are introduced. Right? We are introduced.
We are introduced to the character of John Adams during the Second Continental Congress as he begs for the other delegates to vote yes for independence, only for them to complain about the heat and tell him again and again to do what?
Sit down, John.
Told you get it.
Yeah. Alright.
You fat.
Fiddler on them!
What? Okay, one more question and then I need to. Put out food. Okay, here we go. Ready? The plot of the 1964 musical Fiddler on the Roof was based on Shalom Alecham's short story about Tevye the Dairyman. But the title of the play is inspired by another Russian-born Jewish artist who painted The Fiddler, Green Violinist, and Lenore, which all feature a fiddler on the roof. Is it Marc Chagall, Chaim Sutan, Sonia Delaunay, or El Lissitzky?
Mark Chagall.
Fiddler on the Roof.
Sounds
Okay.
crazy, no?
I'm gonna give it back to you, so I can start picking out the stuffs.
Put that down. Put down.
I didn't realize that they took the fiddler from Chagall. I thought it was the.
Somebody stand right here. Ella, stand right here. But everybody. What? Stand right there. Can't see on the camera. Back up. No, Juma! Wait. Like right next to the mic. I need to be taller. Wait a second. I got this. Yeah, I see a little this. But I'll destroy! Mama.
Alright, I think it's really on my heart. Where do you want to go?
All I can think about is if there was
They're saying what?
if there was an exhibition, but everybody in the class was white. I don't know why I did this. Ow!
Rosie?
You just run in and slap on his head. I thought that was a spider on your head, but you can't.
Okay.
I can't touch this. You can't touch this. But you can't touch this.
Ella, no. My head is killing me.
you're all set up here. Wow. Nice that you're hosting this. Is nice. Yeah.
Very nice. After all the things you've been involved in. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I'm delighted to be host. And welcome to our home with with Kimberly Black.
I didn't mean to.
Okay, okay, relax.
This is the best way to read Torah. These on.
Yeah, those on. You can always wear those when you do tour if you'd like to.
Yeah!
Be a tradition.
Until I grow up.
Until you grow up. Well, that's exactly right.
All those months.
See when people are.
I'm gonna be the lookout.
You're gonna look out? Okay, great. Thank you. We definitely need that. Definitely need a lookout. Wow.
You thought we were talking. Oh, looks like Mia's dad. No hidden term. Mia's dad.
Oh.
No one knows his name.
It does look like, yeah, it does look
So nice and quiet. Even though Crescent Heights is a busy street, this area here is quiet. When you go up
There
that
are
way.
a lot of Preston families that live along the street.
I think oh yeah, but I see some people coming.
Oh, nice. Oh, I see Marshall and Tana. And then Mr. Walk.
Yeah, they like to walk.
Yeah.
I was there last
It's an
night
easy
for
walk.
Shabbat dinner.
Not too
Y'all
far.
see
Right
it?
there.
Funny.
You walk straight down from Preston Heights from where they live. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just
Oh, nice.
He's scared of all the people now.
Okay, so let him be in his room for now.
Come on, hello.
Yeah, long time no see. That was so nice. They've got so much stuff to eat. Board, that still doesn't work. Isn't that funny?
Okay.
Okay. More things in the kitchen.
Okay, good.
And you get your rest of it this afternoon, I hope.
You guys, how long did it take you to walk?
Very tired.
I don't know. I can tell last night.
15 minutes or it's
No, I wouldn't go.
oh, longer than that. It was 20 minutes walk. You're near.
Yeah.
We're sweet and then
Oh,
go.
we're between Crescent, we're on La Jolla,
Oh, you're on the Hoya.
and we're 3 blocks north of Wilshire. So how long
Oh,
did
wow.
it take? I don't know, it's pretty long.
That's a nice walk, though.
Well, it's 6:14 now, we left at 5:51.
5:51.
You like,
Oh, well,
But that's including being stopping for the lights,
And he was in a rush.
so it's not bad.
you made it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Put my jacket. Oh, Marshall, you wanna sit on the outer portion here? Oh, well, wait a minute, I should sit back. Because in case, you know, if you put them in.
Oh,
Way
further
back here,
down.
yeah.
There'll be some people who don't want to be on the Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whoops. Oh, thank you.
I have the exact same.
So we
Should I move in or will it be easier for someone to? I can move one over.
You get your rest for a few minutes today.
Yeah, thank God.
And the little one also?
Okay,
Yeah.
The little
Yes, we only get a nap at the end.
Exactly. Yeah.
so Ben, here,
He's so cute.
colaboration, literally people and nations, okay? Well, literally, but then,
Yeah.
people and nations,
Yeah.
they were proud to brought us closer, yeah, right, okay? And then the hook, 2 years now, it's, right? And we have to period unity. So there's lots of Rashi, put in there.
So we're trying to read that. If it gets a little too much, then we're gonna switch it to another book I have on the art for portions. So we started that now. We put the couple at a time. I'm reading with my sister-in-law. got me to do it because, you know, she wants a partner, a learning partner.
Oh, wonderful.
And I've been doing it for a long, long time.
So
Many
what are
years.
you reading?
Well, right now we're reading the book Parsha. It's on the Parsha.
Oh,
But we
okay.
just finished a book by what's her name? Oh gosh.
It's okay. What is
But
it?
anyway, it was a good book. Just various things too about how we can apply to today's.
Oh.
The Rebbitzin wrote that book. Both the other Rebbitzin, Young Bryce, you know, her
Oh, yes,
company
I've heard
name.
of her.
So we read her stuff and we read Pliskin and we read you familiar with Pliskin?
No.
No, oh, okay. I'm more on the Orthodox side and they aren't Orthodox.
They are.
Yeah, my daughter. Yeah, so she, you know, she's the same.
My daughter's one of Orthodox.
Not black. Yeah, he is, yeah, they are.
No, that's okay.
And when I was working, it was hard because the work kept me going. It was too stressful, but now she said you have no more excuses.
That's great.
So let's learn once a week, but every day we're both available. We have 1 hour on it's called Meet.
No.
It's like FaceTime.
Oh,
I use my iPad, you know, and I see her sitting in her house. She sees me. I see my brother, and the kids are all married, so they're not alone. And one of them pops in and say hi to me.
That's really nice. That's
Yeah, so that's what we're reading on it now. So yeah, it's nice. So
Yeah.
that's we're talking about learning. We read lighter things like this source sheet was very heavy. I was trying to read it on my phone, but it was.
Oh, for today?
Yeah, for
For
today.
now?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't look at it.
Something about Sahara or something. Sin, a disease. What does it have to do with bread? What it says. What does
I mean, I don't know.
leavening?
Half the time it
Any
doesn't,
leavening.
half the time it doesn't make any sense at all. It's not too deep, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. I read it a couple times. I need it first. Yeah.
And some of these things which apply to women don't make much sense.
That's what it is. When it gets a bit too, not like that, yeah. That would be like then they're trying to convert me. We've learned for years.
No, you locked the inside door here.
Hands. They can't see me.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, you can only see my face. I make sure I'm butting myself. Talking to
Yeah,
her.
the part of his aftermath, he lived in
Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
remember, you don't have it recently, but
So
he
yeah.
has his own depression, his life there, so, yeah.
I would say my one of the traditional, conservative tradition.
I have
My
over
brother somehow met a rabbi on Beverly, Rabbi Gaspar.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
my mother used to go to that
Oh,
shul.
he on my
Right.
brother's wall.
That's why you must be from Poland.
Yeah.
I drive mine.
Oh, you're serious? I'm still going.
My mother went to that shul, my father went to the She wasn't from the States. Oh, hi, Ed. Nice to see you. So you came to these parts, huh?
Yeah. If it's a rabbi house, I have to show.
Good. How are you doing? We're actually in Turkey. Salt. Salt. Yeah, there's a special salt they put in the box, I don't know.
We have a box.
Keep things lively.
Yeah, we like it too. Yeah, salt or something like that. Amy should have looked it up. Some salt. Poured the salt, 2 cups, and nothing happened.
In the small container.
Yes. Put salt in it, yeah. Maybe our water's
I
harder.
meant to actually do that too, this year, and then
We
something
poured
in my
2 cups in
personal
and said, pour until the water displaced.
Right.
It didn't displace after 2 cups of salt, and I said, I don't think I want to pour more salt.
Yeah.
So you don't have to put salt.
No, I know.
Do you have a water softener?
Yeah. No, we don't. But Papa has another thing.
I know.
She puts there.
Yeah, I know that. That's a rinse.
Yeah, thank you.
I put
Yeah.
that in. That didn't work either. Just unplug it and plug it in.
How old is this one?
Just 7. We just bought it in 2017. They hardly ever use it.
Actually, ours is older than that. It's older. Yeah.
Maybe they didn't have the salt or capability. It's a special dishwasher water. I know.
Someone who knows better.
Yeah, right. I was thinking 4 pounds.
You didn't want?
No, what it said. When I bought it, I said, "What is it?" I ignored it. Yeah, but how can you ignore it when it comes up in the screen?
If it washes fine.
Yeah, I wouldn't. But it doesn't. It doesn't even start because it tells you to put the salt in and then you turn it. Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
The unexpensive, but I like it.
So, yesterday. Salt issue. So we got salt from Amazon, special dishwasher.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we had this.
So before you put groceries in.
I think it probably is. Very big salt. Put it in. 4 pounds of it. Oh, I cannot have it. It said, wait, when the water evaporates, water evaporates, it comes out. Evaporating, why would it come out? I don't know.
You know what I would do? I would go to
I'm always just fine.
Best Buy.
Yeah,
And ask them. You should have that. Sometimes they'll, because sometimes you do things that you're fixing things.
Makes it work. We stopped at 2 cups.
Alright, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. We're gonna get started. I'll be calling pages from the Siddur Sim Shalom for weekdays, which I know is not what we normally use. So just be aware that the pages won't match up to the Lev Shalom Siddur. We're going to begin Mincha on page 100. We're on page 170.
Back there. He needs to sit because he's reading Torah.
Needs to be on the air.
I think so.
Be on the air.
170.
Back in the
170. Yep.
Just go around.
And you can be seated. We'll begin with Ashrei. Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yalu Chasela, Ashrei Am Shekachalo, Ashrei Am Shanaylo. Tehillah Tanai Yadaber Pi, Vivarach Chabasar Shem Kod Shalom Vaed, Vanachnu Nevarich Yam, Yatav Yad Olam Hallelujah, Uvaleti on Goel, Shvei Pesha Be'Yakov Neum Adonai, V'ata Kadosh Yoshev Tilo Yisrael, V'karazel Zev Yamar, Kadosh Kadosh Kadosh, Adonai Tzvom Melchar Tzkavodo. Batisa Ini Ruach Lashma Acharei Kol Rash Gadol Baruch Kavod Adonai Min Go.
180. Wrong page.
Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed.
172.
Oh, yeah.
ויבטחו בך יודעי שמך, כי לא עזבת דורשך אדוני, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. Kati Kaddish is on the top of page 173. Yikadal v'ikadash shemei rabba, ve'almad dibra kirtei, ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayedechol v'yamechol, v'chayedechol beit Yisrael, b'galal zman karim, v'imru amen. Yehnei shmei rabba mevarach, ve'lamon me'almaya, Yiparach v'ishtabach, yipar v'tromam v'yitnaseh, v'tadar v'taleh v'talal, shmei nekudasha b'richu, ve'ila min kol birchata, v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechomata, damiran ve'ama v'imru, amen. V'ani tefilatei lecha nait ratzon, Elohim barov chasdecha, aneni v'met yishecha, Vayhivin Saharon, Vayomer Moshe, Kilmad Naidafu Toevecha, Veanusu Mesanecha Mipanecha, Kimitzion Tete Torah, Dvaranai Mirushalayim, Baruch Shanatan Torah Le'amo Yisrael, B'Kedushato. God Lula Naiti, Unaramim Hashemo Yakta. We're reading this upcoming week from Parshat Tazria, which is, you can find the reading for it in the back of the Siddur Sim Shalom for weekdays on page 290. A note, it's just Tazria this year.
It's just Tazria.
We're splitting it up, so even less for us to talk about.
Well, you're giving the Parsha a bad name.
Well, no, normally there's so much for us to talk about, and now we only get half of it. And actually, I think Tazria is the shorter half, so. We didn't assign Eliot, so are there people who want, we have 3 Eliot, Agba, and Glila. If people are willing to volunteer to do any or all.
I can do it all, yeah.
Aliyah, we'll give you the first, second Aliyah, third Aliyah. Anita, will you take the third Aliyah?
I feel like I have many opportunities to have an aliyah, so for someone who normally doesn't, do you know how to take an aliyah?
You'll take it?
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah, okay, I go for the third Aliyah, and then Agba and Glila.
I can do Hagba.
Agba. Glila, great. Yeah. ותיגלה ותרם מלכותו עלינו בזמן קרוב, ויחון פליטתנו ופליטת עמו בית ישראל אחינו חסרחמים ורצון ונאמר אמן. הכל הגודל אלוהינו תנו כבוד לתורה, לעמוד. אברהם בן זאב ופרומה לעלייה הראשונה, בראש שנתן תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו. ואתם אביקים אדוני אלוהיכם חיים כולכם היום. Just for a moment.
He's gonna, if we show him where to use this to touch and kiss.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Baruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Adaber Adonai, Moshe lemor, daber, Abnei Israel lemor, Isha ki Tazria, ve'yalda zachar, etamea shivat yamim, kimei midat data titma, uvayom hashmini, yimo basar orlato, ushoshim yam, ushloshet yamim, תשב בדמי תורה, בכל קודש לא תיגע, ואל המקדש לא תבוא, עד מלאת ימי תורה.
Shit, go on. Nailed it. We're gonna leave it right there for him, okay?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Yeah, Shakoth Elatorni, good job.
Sarabat Shimon Vedina Lali Sheni. Yeah.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavarach. Baruch Adonai Hamavarach L'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Bim de kevate le v'tamashu am kanidata. V'shishim yom v'sheshit yamim teshev alamei tahora. Uvim lot yamei tahora. Leveno ba'ol avad. Tavi keves ben shnato leola. V'nyuna otor lechatat el petach o el moed. El ha-kohen. V'ikrivo lifnei lai v'chiper aleha v'tahara mimikor dameha. Zo Torah hayolelet lazachar olanakeva bimlod timsa yada deise v'lacha shetorim o shnei b'nei yona echad le'olav yechad lechatat v'chiper aleh hakohen v'tahera.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam atah b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Ya'amod. Reuven. Ben Avram V'Sara Aliyah Shlishi.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Baruch. Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe v'Aaron lemor Adam. Kiev or b'saro se'eto sapachat ovaheret. Vayava or b'saro l'negat sarat uva el Haron hakohen o elachad mibanav hakohanim. Dira'ah hakohen et hanega v'yor habasar v'seyar banega hafaf lavan. Umare hanega amok meor b'saro negat saratu. Dira'ahu hakohen v'time oto. Bim baheret levanahi be'or b'saro. Yamok in Moreha min ha'or, Usara lo hapach lavan, Vizkir HaKohen et HaNega Shivat Yamim, V'ra'ahu HaKohen Bayom HaShvi'i, V'nei HaNega Amad Bior Be'enav Lo Pasah HaNega Ba'or, V'izkiro HaKohen Shivat Yamim Shenit.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei haolam natan b'tov chayro. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Before we return the Sefer Torah, was there anyone who was looking to say an El Malay on behalf of a loved one that passed over, who has a yard site coming up in the upcoming week? Anyone on Zoom? All right, then we'll continue on page 176. Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nisgav Shemo levado, v'nedor v'shamayim, v'yam kirem le'amo, v'yilad v'chol b'tzitam, v'nei Yisrael ha'mkolo, Yitzchayim hi l'machazikim ba, v'tomcha me'ushar, derachecha darchei noam, v'chol netivotah shalom, Hashiveinu Adonai elecha, v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem. Continue with Chatzi Kaddish on page 177. Yikadal, Yikadash Shemei Rabba, Ve'almad Yikrak Yirtei V'amlich Malchutei, B'chayachon V'yomechon V'chayidachol Beit Yisrael, Bagalav Yizman Karivim Ru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba B'narach, V'amamamaya, Yiparach V'shabach V'par V'tramam V'naseh V'tadar V'taleh V'talal Shmei Kudashav B'ruchu, Ve'elam Min Kol Birchata V'shirata Tush B'chata V'nechemata Da'amiran V'almavim Ru, Amen. you're still saying your own personal Amidah, please continue. Otherwise, please join me on page 178. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol HaGibor v'Nara El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Yaakov V'Zocher Chasdei Avot U'Mevi Goel Livnei B'neihem L'ma'an Shemo B'Yava Melech Ozer Poked U'Moshio Magen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Abraham Upokei Tzara Ata Gibor Olam Adonai Mechayei Metim Atarav L'Oshia Mashiv Haruach U'Marid Hagashem Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed Mechayei Metim Barachamim Rabim Somech Noflim Rofech Olim Atir Asurim Mekayem Emunato Lishnei Afar Michamocha Bal Geburot Umidom Elach Melech Mimitin Chayei Matzmiach Yeshua V'Ne'eman Atala Chayot Metim Baruch Ata Adonai Mechayei HaMetim Mekadesh Shimcha Ba'olam Kashem Shmak Tishim Otobi Shmei Maram Kakatuv Ayad Nevi'acha V'kar Zeh El Zeh V'Amar Kadosh 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 Adonai Tzvaot Melech Haaretz Kevodo Le'umatam Baruch Yomeru Baruch Kevod Adonai Mimkomo Divrei Koshecha Katuv Le'mor Mochan Olam El Hayich Zion L'Dor Vador Hallelujah L'Dor Vador Nagi Godlecha L'Netzach Netzachim Kedushatcha Nakdish V'Shimchacha Elohim Mipinu Lo Yomush Le'olam Va'ed Ki Omelech Kadosh V'Kadosh Ata Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaKadosh Ata Echad U'Shimcha Echad U'Mikam Mecha Yisrael Goy Echad Ba'aretz Tiferek Eluah Teret Yeshua Yom Menucha Kedusha L'Amcha Natata Abraham Yagel Yitzchak Yiranen Yaakov Uvanav Yanu Chuvo Menuchat Ava Unidava Menuchat Emet Ve'emunah Menuchat Shalom V'Shalva V'Hashket V'Betach Menuchat Shlema Shata Rotzeva V'Akiru Vanecha V'Yedu Ki Midcha Hi Menuchatam Ve'al Menuchatam Yakdishu Et Shemecha Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Ritzei Menuchatenu Hadshenu B'Mitzvotecha V'Ten Chelkenu V'Toratecha Zadbenu Mituvecha V'Samchenu B'Shuatecha V'Taher Libenu L'Avdecha V'Emet V'Anchilenu L'Eloheinu V'Avav Uratzon Shabbat Kochecha V'Enuchu V'Yisrael Mekadeshei Shemecha Baruch Ata Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu B'Amcha Yisrael Tfilatam V'Ashev Et Havodah Lidbir V'Techa Tfilatam B'Avad Tekabel Ratzon Tehi Ratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Amecha V'Techazeina Hineinu V'Shuvcha L'Tzion B'Rachamim Baruch Ata Adonai HaMachazir Shchinato L'Tzion Modim Anakulam Hatov kilo chalu rachamecha v'hamerachem kilo tamu chatzidecha me'olam kivinu la'ach v'akulam yitbarach mitromam shimcha malkinu tamid olam va'ed v'kol ha'chayim yidu chasela v'alu et shimcha be'emet ha'el yeshuatenu v'ezratenu sela Baruch Ata Adonai Hatov shimcha u'lecha na'el lehodot Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha V'al kol yoshvei tevel tatzim le'olam ki atahu melech adon l'chol ha'shalom V'tov b'necha v'varech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol eit u'v'chol sha'ah b'shlomecha Baruch Ata Adonai Hamevarech et Amo Yisrael b'shalom Tzidkatcha tzedek le'olam v'toracha emet Tzidkatcha Elohim ad marom asher tzita gedolot Elohim mi chamocha Tzidkatcha k'hararei el mishpatecha tam rabba Adamu ve'ema toshia Adonai. Turn ahead to page 189 for full Kaddish. Gadal v'kadash shemei rabba Yama divra kirtei v'amlich malchutei b'chayachonu v'mechonu chaydecho be'Yisrael Bagala b'zman peri v'imeru Amen Yehi shmei rabba mevorach Le'olam Yitbarach v'shabach pa'ar v'trama v'naseh v'tadar v'tala v'talal shmei kudesha b'richu ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata t'shurchata v'nechemata d'amiran ve'amar ve'imeru tikabal slotom nevotom d'chol Yisrael kadam avohon divishmai ve'imeru yehi shlam araba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Yosei shalom yimramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Amen l'shabeach l'adon hakol ha'tek gula le'otzeh ereshi shelo asam v'kuli ha'ratzon le'lo osam amin kimishratot ha'dama shelo osam chelkenu kahem ve'gor aleinu kechol ha'mona v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim imoti v'yifnei melech malkei hamalkim hakadosh baruch Pakatu b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai v'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom ha'hu yeh Adonai echad u'shema Kadisha Mourner's Kaddish can be found on page 191. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah ve'alma tibra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yamechon u'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru amen v'yishmei ra'ah v'rach v'yam v'ne'amaya v'yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnatzeh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata d'amiran ve'amar v'yimru amen yehei shlam araba min shmaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen Oseh shalom v'yimramav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Yeah. I feel odd making announcements about food in your house.
I'll start with Yesher Koach to Ben. Thank you for leading us. Yesher Koach also to Marshall for reading Torah and to Ella Chorney for reading Torah and to Robert Flood for teaching her. We have the same food that you would get if you were at the synagogue, but it's in our dining room. Feel free to use, we have regular plates, regular forks and spoons and stuff out there. Somebody brought some delicious treats that have nuts in them, so that's clearly in a box marked like peanut butter or something like along those lines. And if you need to use the restroom, just through either the guest room here or the kitchen, both they meet around on this circle that you can find is just on this floor here. We've got a restroom. And in just a little bit, Ben is going to do some teaching here in this room. Based on the number of people here, I might just clear a few chairs to have a little more space and just take off and enjoy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How you doing, Michael? Good to see you.
Yeah. Our friend and colleague.
Oh, you mean down there in the middle? Isn't the bud hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Daniel's mom.
Everything else is still
You mean yes, yes.
all new.
I messed up the mom.
He doesn't sleep during the day though.
Yeah, trade.
How invested can you be at this point?
Shockingly, quite. I mean, I still have a couple of large assignments. I can't completely slack off, but there are totally classes which I can't slack off. And I have
How many classes do you have?
5. I took an extra class because I did the certificate in early childhood last year, I couldn't take the Ron Wolfson class that everyone takes last year. I didn't have to take it, but I wanted to, so that's my extra class.
Okay.
It's easy enough. There's no problem. I just have to take good notes during class.
That's great. And it's the it's the further along you get in school, the less your grade point average, right? You pass.
Yes.
Pass, you know what they call it?
Rabbi. How are y'all?
Pretty good. Not particularly exciting, a little busy, but nothing big to complain about. I'll take that 10 times out of 10. Are you gonna eat or are you?
Yeah, I think I
Have to?
What? I don't have to. I don't have to. I'm trying to figure out. I know my coach was going to shop me something for me to eat, but so I know that that's an hour and a half away before I get in the car to go through.
Diane.
It's all confusing.
Why don't you sit down there?
So I'm gonna put my food here. Thank
Sure,
you.
absolutely.
I'm gonna get some drink and more stuff. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Okay.
No, this is what I'll do. Yeah. I'm gonna get a drink. I'll get more stuff later, but I definitely want to drink. Need a drink?
Here.
Sure. Yeah, I pay it all. I'll come and get a drink.
Joe, did you tell me you were doing physics? You said his son is in physics also. Oh, cool. Sure. You know Ed El-Hadari?
No, hi, I'm John.
John.
Jonah.
Yona.
Yeah. What kind of physics are they studying?
First of all, if we get something, I'm doing a project about Jonah. I'm taking a class, a clinical class with Rabbi Ruben Firestone with other 6 rabbinical students. And my topic I'm going to do a presentation on is Jonah.
That's a great.
So what he's doing is really rabbinical, comparing Quranic interpretation, Jonah and
Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
so Jason is doing his doctorate degree at University of Illinois Urbana.
Oh, apart from where I grew up. I grew up in the Chicago suburbs.
Oh, really?
Like 10th of my graduating class ended up at Urbana.
Actually, today he's with his wife in Chicago visiting friends.
Okay.
So, actually, originally from Chicago?
The suburbs, yeah.
Oh, cold. I went to Madison for 4 years.
Yeah. It is quite cold.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But we're originally from Minnesota, and that's even
Oh.
colder. We showed up when we moved. My dad tells the story. We showed up with a 2-cycle snowblower, and everyone thought he was insane. No one had such a powerful snowblower in Chicago, and then they all saw how wonderful it was and how it not.
What is that? 2 cycles?
Like it's a
2-stroke.
2-stroke, yeah.
Yeah, 2-stroke engine.
A little bit more powerful.
So basically, instead of spending 1 hour, you'll do it in 5 minutes.
Yeah, 4 hours, 1 hour, but yeah.
In the time that everyone else was taking to do the driveway, he was doing the driveway. My parents' house is on a corner, so the driveway and all the sidewalk.
How powerful is the snowblower you bought that way?
Non-existent. Thank God.
And you can't operate a 2-stroke engine in LA city limits.
You can't?
Nope, gasoline-powered lawn care is forbidden.
Really?
That's why all the gardeners switched to electric. It's major smog cause.
Wow.
2-strokes are really dirty.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware.
They're very portable, but very dirty. And actually, it was the noise pollution that people complained about that got it banned. Everybody waking up on Saturday, Sunday mornings to the buzz of leaf blowers.
I never, like now I'm thinking about it, I never noticed that. But
I still see people with them.
How many houses are out? Unless you want to date.
Oh, right. So they couldn't go to the shul.
Oh, it's exciting. Yeah. I'm excited. This is actually top around.
yeah.
So good.
So, Jonathan, have you finished?
We
John, is it?
I mean, Beth on, but my daughter is in second grade.
But I have a few more years.
No, but I was gonna ask you from the
originally
Midwest.
Texas, actually.
Oh,
So,
interesting. Dallas.
Yes.
Is your son
Nice.
expecting?
How long have you been
Like,
in
that's your
Valley?
party, isn't it?
17 years.
Is there band campaign?
Upstate New York for school.
I'm not sure, but they have like.
How far upstate is
Troy,
huge
Albany.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was nice. No.
And he's really
Yeah, my
well into
mother-in-law went to school in Syracuse, and
Oh,
she talks about.
physics.
New York has that weather.
Yeah.
Minnesota weather.
Yeah, my
So you never know. Maybe
my childhood
maybe
rabbi
one
was
of
from
the conference or something.
what is it? Buffalo.
Yeah, nobody does Buffalo weather but Buffalo.
Yeah.
Buffalo is like adding together the worst parts of all of those places.
One of those questions where you wonder after a winter how people manage to continue to live there.
Survive. Which is probably pretty good.
Yeah, at least in Minnesota, the summers, all 6 weeks of them make it worthwhile. We're
You work as a chemical engineer now?
we all finished
You work as a chemical engineer now?
We'll come back together.
We're doing the 1 hour one.
I'm a freelancer.
Okay, I've got this, I'll bring this up now to you, but I can't get the hair.
In many ways, we all are.
Oh,
Just keep choosing to work for a paycheck.
Lucky ones,
Yeah, alright.
But also here, but Michael is sitting here.
I saw the thing, the salt shaker. The first thing I got very excited, I still did. But if you heard me, I said bark, bark when I like pointed at it. I immediately came out and said bark, bark. Yeah, that's the guy. That's it. That's it.
He's just a corgi.
He's just the corgi.
Yes.
No,
together,
he
it's fine.
doesn't
More
more
than
than
that.
that.
You're in the middle of a conversation,
Like
sit together.
Thinking about where to sit it all.
If I ever started a restaurant,
that's the cult, right?
Might be more than, maybe should, are there too many chairs?
What?
Maybe move some out of the way? Or
Maybe a couple.
I just don't know where.
So if I can sit at the end,
Okay.
I feel better sitting
All right.
here.
While people are getting situated, I'm gonna introduce how I ended up on this topic. So as I mentioned earlier, normally we read Tazria alongside Mitzvah. There's a little bit more to talk about. I'm teaching Torah quite a few times this week, and there's only so many times that I can talk about the actual Torah portion. But I wanted it to be timely and relevant, and I already taught about Pesach this past week. So I want to take a look at the Haftarah, because one of the things that stood out to me as I was looking at the Haftarah is that where it starts and where it ends seem to be completely unrelated. And hopefully through the conversation and learning we're about to do, we'll see how these two ideas of the Haftarah are related. And for what it's worth, they're from two separate chapters, so I'm not the only one who thought that they were unrelated. So for the sake of those on Zoom, I'm gonna actually read through the text, but then please share your thoughts when that time comes. I do have to just say for my own sanity.
Ben,
Yes?
as the representative on Zoom, you don't have to do it for me. It got sent out as a source sheet and I have it.
I know, but it also gets sent out as a recording, so.
Oh, sorry.
No, all good. I appreciate it. I do want to just mention for my own sake and for the sake of those here, yes, there is an echo. You're not, yeah, something along those lines. A man came from Baal Shalisha, and he brought the agent of God some bread of the first reaping, 20 loaves of barley bread, and some fresh grain in his sack. And Elisha said, "Give it to the people and let them eat." His attendant replied, "How can I set this before 100 people?" But he said, "Give it to the people and let them eat. For thus said God, they shall eat and have some left over." So he set it before them, and when they had eaten, they had some left over, as God had said. So that's the end of that chapter 4.
Sounds very Christian.
Sounds very Christian. How so?
That's the whole story about Jesus multiplying the loaves for everyone to be able to eat.
They had to get it from somewhere, though, right? No, but on a serious note, Christianity is an outgrowth of Judaism. A lot of the themes and stories from Christianity come from stories that are within our own tradition. So this is the first half. We have this miracle where the bread is seemingly not enough for them to eat, and somehow it is. Hold that thought, because we're going to go in a completely different direction now. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was an important man to his lord and high in his favor, for through him God had granted victory to Aram. But the man, though a great warrior, was a leper. Once, when the Arameans were out raiding, they carried off a young girl from the land of Israel, and she became an attendant to Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "I wish master could come before the prophet in Samaria. He would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went and told his lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go to the king of Israel, and I will send along a letter." He set out, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 changes of clothing. He brought the letter to the king of Israel. It read, "Now when this letter reaches you, know that I have sent my courtier Naaman to you, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he rent his clothes and cried, "Am I God to deal death or give life, that this fellow writes to me to cure a man of leprosy? Just see for yourself that he is seeking a pretext against me." Right? So just to summarize as we're going through here, Naaman is this general, essentially, he has leprosy. He finds out that there's this healer in the land of Israel who might be able to heal him of his leprosy, goes to the king on whose behalf he's leading an army, and says, "Can I go to Israel and get my leprosy cured?" And the king says, "Sure," and sends him along the way to the king of Israel, who says, "Oh crap, he's trying to start a war with me on the pretext that I'm supposed to cure his general of leprosy. What the heck am I supposed to do here? I can't do this." So that's where we're at right now. When Elisha, the agent of God, heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you rent your clothes? Let him come to me, and he will learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the door of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a messenger to him. "Go and bathe 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be pure." But Naaman was angered and walked away. "I thought," he said, "he would surely come out to me and would stand and invoke the Eternal his God by name, and would wave his hand toward the spot and cure the affected part. Are not the Amanah and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? I could bathe in them and be pure." And he stalked off in a rage. So he's come to Elisha, and Elisha says to him, doesn't even say directly to him, just says via a messenger, "Go and bathe in the Jordan." And Naaman is sitting here wondering, wait a minute, I came to a prophet to find out that all I had to do was like go to the mikvah essentially? Like, what's going on here? We have rivers back home that I could bathe in. What's so special about this? He's doubting Elisha's cure for all of this, and frustrated that he's traveled all this way to get an answer that he feels like he could have done at home. But his servant came forward and spoke to him. "Sir," they said, "if the prophet told you to do something difficult, how would you not do it? How much more so when he has only said to you, 'Bathe and be pure'?" So he went down and immersed himself in the Jordan 7 times, as the agent of God had bidden, and his flesh became like a little boy's, and he was pure. So it turns out Elisha knew what he was talking about. Returning with his entire retinue to the agent of God, he stood before him and exclaimed, "Now I know that there is no God in the whole world except in Israel. So please accept a gift from your servant." But he, Elisha, replied, "As God lives, whom I serve, I will not accept anything." He pressed him to accept, but he refused. And Naaman said, "Then at least let your servant be given 2 mule loads of earth, for your servant will never again offer up burnt offering or sacrifice to any god except God. But may God pardon your servant for this. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow low and worship there, and he is leaning on my arm so that I must bow low in the temple of Rimmon, when I bow low in the temple of Rimmon, may God pardon your servant in this." And he said to him, Elisha says to Naaman, "Go in peace," when he had gone some distance from him. And that's where it ends. Cliffhanger. So, right, we have these 2 stories that both have to do with Elisha, but there's got to be more to what's going on here as to how these 2 stories get pushed together in one haftarah. They could have just left it with the story of Naaman, which is directly related to the laws that we start to get in Tazria about Sarat. That's very clear. There's still like this question though of what's going on at the beginning. But before we move on, do people have other questions or thoughts that they want to share? Or things that you want clarified? I was trying to do it as we went along, but I know that it's kind of an odd story to go from one to the other. So one of the things that stood out to me as I was going through it is I looked at this in the Eitz Chaim Chumash, which always has a very nice introduction to the Haftarah. They link it. But I wanted to add a little bit of that introduction here and start a larger conversation from it. In the sparse narrative about the loaves of bread, the connecting thread is provided by the verb to give, the connecting thread throughout this entire story, natan. A man brings his votary gift to Elisha, who instructs his steward Gehazi to give 10 to the people. When the steward doubts how he could give at 10 this small amount of loaves to so many people, the prophet reissues his command, give 10 the food to the people. When the steward complied and gave Vayitan the food to the masses, there was more than enough to go around. The miracle is underscored as something promised and fulfilled by God. The text also indicates Elisha's magnanimity, dispensing to the people gifts he refused to take for himself. The account of Naaman's miraculous cure is presented with greater detail and fuller dialogues. Indeed, the dialogues generate the stages of narrative action. The Israelite girl intervenes with her mistress. The Aramean commander begs leave of his king. The king of Israel misinterprets the letter of the king of Aram, and Elisha expresses readiness to perform the desired cure, that Naaman might know the power of prophets in Israel. Finally, Elisha sends a message to Naaman with instructions for a cure, and Naaman presents Elisha with a theological statement recognizing the unique power of the God of Israel, whom he now wants to worship exclusively. When the Aramean commander expresses his gratitude for being cured by Elisha's gift, the man of God once again demonstrates his refusal to profit from his prophetic powers. This leads to a poignant reversal, as Naaman then requests the gift of some loads of holy earth to build a shire to God in Aram. A shrine, sorry. That was my typing. I take full responsibility. Just a bad habit, exactly. Puns are in general. So there's a theme here that the introduction is getting at that I want to tease out a little bit more. What's going on in the first half and what's going on in the second half that links them together is miracles. Exactly. Yeah, we have this miracle of bread lasting longer. We have this miracle of water. But what I think the rabbis are trying to do in linking these two ideas together they're two very different miracles. What's happening in this first miracle? How would you explain it, describe it?
Somehow everybody's satisfied with the amount of bread.
Everyone's satisfied with the amount of bread.
The second one, at first Elisha refused, he just hesitates.
So the first time around, there's like this certainty about how to do it. The second time around, there seems a little bit more uncertainty about it. How else might you describe these two different types of miracles?
The first one is a miracle for the masses. It involves the entire people getting them enough food. The second one deals solely with the problem of one person.
Yeah, that's also great. You have the original miracle is the first miracle is the miracle for masses, right? Everyone gets satisfied. The second one, I mean, you can maybe tease out if you really want to a miracle for the masses in that it doesn't then start a war, but it's really a miracle for one person. Naaman is cured of his leprosy. It could have led to bigger issues for the greater people, but it's really just a miracle for one person. But I think there's also something there's one other thread one other difference between the two that I think we all can bring into our own lives. The first miracle is like truly miraculous. Everyone understands it, and it feels like something that is a miracle of miracles. And the second time around, the cure, like what actually initiates the miracle, and I guess you can even say the first time around too, is something very mundane, right? Go and bathe in the river and do it 7 times. There's this intent that needs to be done, but at the end of the day, it's something that we all back in the day would have done on a semi-regular basis. Go and bathe in a river. Same thing with the food at the beginning. Eat, right? There's nothing that miraculous that initiates this miracle. Just eat and there will be enough food and you don't need to worry about it beyond there. And I wanted to bring this text and because as I was going through it, it really struck me that oftentimes when we talk about miracles in our day and age, we talk about things that we expect to have grand starts and grand finishes, right? Maybe we can all agree that bread lasting that much for 12 people is a miracle of miracles. Illness going away that seemingly can't be cured is a miracle of miracles. And we expect that there's going to be some miraculous start to it. And oftentimes, it's not anything like that. It's just people going about their daily lives. Heschel was a very big fan of looking for the miracle. Abraham Joshua Heschel was a very big fan of looking for the miracles in our own life and living in radical amazement. And that is what is at the core of living a religious life, is being constantly amazed by the miracles that are going on in our lives and not taking any of them for granted. In the same way, quite opposite to how Naaman takes for granted that his leprosy couldn't possibly be cured by doing something so mundane. And so one of the takeaways that I want to leave us with, there's time for discussion about it too, but is to go about our lives looking for the miracles in our lives because they're out there. They're little things, they're huge things. They're, I can think of like 5 miracles that occurred to me on the way here if I really, really think about it, but I wasn't thinking about it on my way here. The sun stayed up for the entire time. There wasn't an eclipse yet, so there was sun the entire way. There were paved roads for me to walk on because people had planned ahead for that. The weather was nice, it didn't rain, and yet there is plenty of rain here in Southern California so that there's beautiful plants growing outside, right? There are all these things that we can take for granted that are in their own way miraculous if only we allow ourselves to sit in the miracle of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to have to the aspect of miracle is it really sometimes the doctor gives 2 patients have the same diseases, the same medication. One patient miraculously feels better and gets better. The other patient struggles with it. So the concept is really almost like not faith, but the essence of not even submission. The essence of something is, how to express it, that there is something going on, that mentally you will help the process, or you will know that it will work, or just be positive about it, rather than put obstacles in the process. And maybe that's miracle. Miracles removing obstacles. Or suddenly, things start to happen.
I think that's a wonderful definition, that miracles are removing obstacles from our way that seemingly can't be removed, whatever they may be. A mindset, a physical barrier, whatever it could be. Yeah. Other thoughts that people wanted to share? Yeah.
I think it's very nice that Alicia didn't accept all those beautiful gifts.
Yeah, that's another really,
Yeah.
a really nice highlight, that Alicia didn't accept the gifts, that when we're agents of miracles in some way, and we all have the ability to be agents of miracles, that we're not taking advantage of that position for our own benefit, because the only way that we should be benefiting from being agents of miracles is that we get to live in a better world. Yeah.
One of the things you were saying about miracles reminded me of Moses in the burning bush.
Mm-hmm.
Because it talks about Moses says that he had to turn,
Yeah.
turn to see it. And we don't know how many other people may have passed by there and didn't turn to see the bush that was about to consume. And I think so much of life and in miracles is being open to what's going to be there, and to be able to see the world and accept the miracles that are there. Because so often we just go about, obviously, with our heads down, just taking care of whatever mundane business we do, and we're not open to everything that is possibly there for us to experience.
Great. The idea was shared that Moses, when he saw the burning bush, had to turn to see it, and that's a miracle in and of itself that he turned when everyone else isn't turning to see this bush. How many other people pass by? I think it also highlights the idea that at the same point that we need to be in a mindset of looking for miracles, it's also not realistic for us to constantly be in that mindset, right? If we're constantly in the state that I refer to, a state of radical amazement, nothing gets done, right? All you have to do, like the best example of individuals who experience radical amazement are like 2 to 3 year olds. Walk down the street with them and you'll see that they pick up on everything. Everything is miraculous to them. You'll also see that it takes them twice as long as it needs to get from the end of one block to another. So there is always this balance that we have to live between being in a state of radical amazement, looking for the miracles in our life, and realizing that we just can't constantly live life in that way, but trying to at least be intentional of including that in our life, like Moses did. Yeah.
I have a question just about the Haftarah itself. I
Yeah.
can't understand why it's starting with chapter 40, whatever.
Chapter 4.
Chapter
Yeah.
4, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Ella just started the Torah, and I read the second and third aliyot. And only the first 2 aliyot have to do with menstrual impurity.
Yeah.
And then it suddenly goes into a situation about skin blanching, which really ties here to this
Right.
Sorah. So I couldn't figure out why in the Haftarah itself, why is it, and this is talking about the first section here, or starting with verse 42. I couldn't understand why, and I wonder if you found any source as to why it's starting there.
Yeah, so that was the question I began with as well.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I can't know for certain what the rabbis were thinking when they started it there. I can only give my own thesis. I went looking, there's not a ton of stuff. I didn't spend hours looking for it, I should say that, but I spent like half an hour, 45 minutes going through sources trying to find some explanation. I couldn't find one.
So maybe
the one
just
that
the 2 examples of miraculous events.
Yeah, I think that's the common thread is, yeah.
I mean, there's another, I think, key contrast with fairness. In the first miracle, it was an unfair situation that not everyone would be able to eat. And as a result of the miracle, everyone could eat with shared prosperity. In the second situation, you know, there's a young woman who's taken captive and carried off. There's 2 kings in conflict, and the kings come out better and the leper comes out better, and not everybody comes out better.
Right.
After all this thanks for the miracle, who doesn't get thanks is the person who plays almost like Joseph type of role.
Yeah.
Carried off into another land, talks about a God from another land who can fix the problem you have, right? And Joseph gets his chapters, and the young, kidnapped girl of Israel is just a means to move the story along.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, that ultimately, to get back to your question, Marshall, you have comparing and contrasting different miracles and what's going on with them, the situations in which they're occurring, the fairness or unfairness that leads to the miracle happening, whether or not the situation is made fair at the end for everyone or not. I think ultimately what the rabbis are trying to do with this Haftarah is, out of something that seems really like we don't live in a world where anyone in our life is regularly experiencing Sara'at, which I have a hard time actually translating as leprosy, because it's something different. It's something that we may understand as being physically similar, but the way that Torah and rabbis understand it, it's not a physical illness, it's a spiritual one of some sort. And so what the rabbis are doing is they're taking Sara'at, which can seem like this thing that certainly isn't going to happen to everyone, and they're pulling out of it a narrative that everyone can relate to in the Haftarah, of talking about miracles, talking about fairness, talking about how we go about our lives in the world and how we interact with others. And I think that that's something really powerful to take with us into the next week, that we can all be a little bit more aware of the miracles in our life. We can all be a little bit more aware of how fairness is involved in our life and how unfairness is involved in our life, and also how we interact with people as a result of all of that.
Is this Haftarah specifically for Tazria?
I believe it's just for Tazria, yeah. It's not, so all the more so, it's miraculous that we get to read this because it isn't a regular occurrence. Where Tazria Mitzvah, I think is, and I'm looking at Rabbi Chorny to see, is like one of the least regular, or is the most regular double parsha that we read together, right? Like we almost never read it apart. It certainly takes years in which we're in a leap year, and then even then I don't think it always happens. So we should take advantage of this opportunity to be awoken to miracles in a time other than Hanukkah and other than all the other holidays that we have that reference miracles. Because even though we're going into Pesach, I feel like the narrative that we stick with often is freedom, and we don't spend enough time talking about all the miracles that happen for that freedom to take place. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to go ahead and bench. Pretty sure it's in here somewhere. I just don't know what page offhand. Probably. Yes, Birkat Hamazon is 2:30. Do you mind benching? Waiting benching.
שיר המעלות בשוב אדוני את שיבת ציון היינו כחולמים אז ימלא צחוק פינו ולשוננו ראינה אז יאמרו בגויים אדוני לעשות עם אלה הגדיל אדוני לעשות עמנו היינו שמחים שובה אדוני את שביתנו כאבטיחים בנגב אז זורעים בדמעה ברינה יקצורו הלוך ילכו בחור נושאי משך חזרה בוא יבוא ברינה נושא אלומותיו. חבריי נברך. יהי שם עולם ורחמתיו לעולם ברשות כל המסובים כאן נברך שכנו משלו. ברוך שאלוהים שלום משלו ובו חיינו ברוך הוא ברוך שמו ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הזן את העולם כולו בטובו וכן בחסד וברחמים הוא נותן לחם לכל בשר כי לעולם חסדו ובטובו הגדול תמיד לא חסר לנו ואל יחסר לנו מזון לעולם ועד בעבור שמו הגדול כי הוא אלזן ומפרנס לכל ומיטיב לכל ומכין מזון לכל בריאותיו אשר ברא ברוך אתה אדוני הזן את הכל. Now to engage in the conversation.
Well, I mean, if you're in the archways, that's sufficient.
You're lucky. I mean,
How close do you have to
I'm not
be
close.
included in the?
How close
I
are
just live here.
You be in the
Tell me to say
doorway?
amen and I can say amen and then I'm good.
We're actually. Well, I guess people in the kitchen are far. That's not.
That's true,
Yeah.
This is definitely more than
All right. We're going to continue with Mariv, which can be found on page 137. V'hurachum yechaper bo v'lo yashki, v'hir bala shiva po v'lo ya'ir kol chamato, Adonai Hoshia HaMelech Yanenu v'yom korenu. Baruch Hu et Adonai Yamborach. Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam va'ed. El Chai v'kayam tamidim lo chaleinu olam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai ha'ma'ariv aravim. Avat olam Beit Yisrael. V'avatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev ha'mo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Adonai Elohim Amen. Umalchuto beratzon kibu alehem Moshe b'nei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulan Micha mocha b'lim Adonai Mika mocha nadar b'kodesh Norati lo tosefale Malchutecha brahu v'necha bokei yam lifnei Moshe ze'ili anu v'yamru Ma'imoch le'olam v'ed V'ne'emar kifad Adonai Yaakov v'golom yad chazak mimenu barach atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom. Ushmor tzeitenu v'oinu l'chaim l'shalom yatav yad olam baruch atah Adonai shomer amo Yisrael le'al. Baruch Adonai l'olam amin v'amen. Ki hamalchut shelcha hi uleo me'ad tim'of bechavod ki lanu melech ela'ata baruch atah Adonai hamelech b'chvodo tamid yimoch aleinu le'olam va'ed ve'al kol ma'asav. Chatzi Kaddish is found on the bottom of page 141. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah ve'alma divra kirtei v'amlich malchutei b'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayidecho beit Yisrael b'agalav v'zman kariv imru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam amel maya v'yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah b'richu ve'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechamata ta'amiran ve'alma v'imru amen. if you're still saying your personal Amidah, please continue. Otherwise, we continue on page 158 with Chatzi Kaddish. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, ve'almad divra kirtei v'amlich malchotei v'chayachon v'yamechon v'chaydechol v'et Yisrael b'agala v'zman karim v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah m'barach v'lam ha'mayah. Yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudashah b'richu. Ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tush b'chata v'nechmata da'amiran be'almad v'imru amen. Vayhi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu u'maseh yedenu konana aleinu u'maseh yedenu konanenu Yoshe b'sel talion. Orachamin asbiehu varehu bishuati, Orachamin asbiehu varehu bishuati. V'ata kadosh yoshevti lo Yisrael v'karazel zeh amar kadosh 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 v'naitzvo v'charetz kevodo. V'tisa ini ruach v'shmachrei korash gadol baruch kevodo na'im mimkom. Anayim lo chelam ba'eh. ויבדחו בך יודע שמך כי לא עזבת דורשך אדוני אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה ויאדיר. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה בעלמא דברה קרצי והמליך מלכותי בחייכון ובמכון ובחיידךו בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך ועממיה יתברך וישתבח ויפר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו ואלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תקבל סלוטו נבוטו לכל ישראל קדם אבהודי בשמיא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיא וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. Page 163. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Kadisha Mornis Kaddish is found on page 164. Yitgadal v'yitgadal shemei Rabbah ve'alma divra kirtei ve'amlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yamechon v'chaydechol beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam me'omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitrambam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei l'kudashah b'richu ve'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'marav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Huge shikoff to Ben for teaching. I guess I should use this so people know. We're gonna go and do Havdalah in the dining room over here. I'm just gonna move the setup here with the microphone and the computer and everything. We're gonna do it around the dining room table because it's just
better not to use the same table as the Torah. Quick 2 announcements. One is that the Liner family is still in mourning. Actually, we just buried Lee Liner yesterday, and there is a Shiva Minyan taking place in their family this evening, but also every evening through Wednesday. You can find the details either on the website or in the latest bulletin. And one other thing is that Rosh Chodesh is happening on Tuesday morning. Please help us make a minyan at 7:15 there. And of course, there's daily minyan tomorrow morning at 8. So I'll move some stuff in there and I'll meet you in the dining room. We'll do Havdalah.
Rabbi Shoni? I had heard that the Liners were having a morning meeting as well at Louis' home up in Bel Air.
If they are, then it means that there's a like private family arrangement. So the one that they're advertising is for the evenings. So I'm not sure, but I have the details for the evenings and the addresses.
Okay,
Yeah,
but if they haven't announced it officially, then it may not, there may
it may
be.
be like a family and friends thing, yeah. Likely, but I'm not sure.
What's she doing? Can I call the children?
Some children I like very much. I know some other children. Yeah, I think he's the question.
Okay. Oops, sorry. See how far this goes. I might just get a little bit. Thank you. Oh, it's perfect. Okay. All right. This is fun. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna need a big assist, especially by the kids here. Will you guys did I pour the grape juice already? So pour a little Cointreau on the plate and light up the Havdalah candle. And then this is as far as I can go, I think, with the microphone. So I'm gonna turn the camera. That's fine. The camera can be on the kids. That's very cute. They can hear me. Okay. Ya nai na nai 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 ya nai na nai nai ya nai ya nai na nai 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 ya nai na nai 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 Hine al Yeshuati, Heftach velo hefchad, Ki oziv zimrat ya Adonai vayehi li lishua, Ushaftem mayim v'sason, Mimaynei Yeshua, L'Adonai Yeshua, Alecha v'irchatecha sela, Adonai Tzivaot Imanu Niskav Lainu Elohei Yaakov Selah Adonai Tzivaot Asher Yadam Moteach Adonai Mashiach Hamelech Yaneinu V'Yom Koreinu Yehudim Torah Besimcha v'satzon Nikar Ki tiyeh lanu Kosei Yeshuot Esah U'v'shem Adonai Ekra Yainanai 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 Savri Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borai friagafe. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borai minei v'samim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borai meorei ha'esh.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol ben lechoshech l'Yisrael amin. Ve'in yom hashvi'i l'shishim me'am ha'aseh. Baruch atah Adonai, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol.
Dancing fire.
Daniel, you put the camera on it? Oh.
It's so tempting to like.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishvi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Hagiladi, V'meira v'yameinu, Yavo Eleinu. Mashiach ben David, Mashiach ben David, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hagiladi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hagiladi, V'hiravi Avo Elinu, Mashiach. Mashiach ben David, Yavu Elinu, Mashiach ben David. You know, if we put too much on there, then we have to keep going, until the flyer goes out. So we could have been here for 10 more songs. Thank you so much to everyone for coming to our home. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. And if anybody would like any of the leftovers, please do not be shy and let us know, and we will send it home with you.
Westward? I'm heading. Yeah, I guess. Where are you headed to? I'm headed to like where are you going?
Our dishwasher, it said needs salt, so we got this special salt. Look at this.
Perfect.
If you thought this needs salt, there's a special section called salt versus water salt.
I'm gonna double
I
check
never
with
did
them.
a special salt. Yes, special salt. So we bought it, and it didn't work. So now I think I have to, I don't know what to do. Unplug it. It just, it gives me the smell. Salt. You need more salt.
I know we have already on the walk home, but you know what? I'll share it with you. It's a real good one.
Yeah, right.
Spoke to it.
And it's been working.
But something speaks to you, you need to share it. So,
It's hard to use it. And sometimes
very good, thank you.
two people silly. It's their phone. We have it in 2017.
Okay, we're gonna walk.
Yeah.
You're gonna walk?
You
We'll walk. Sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Call a time to be a time show.
Yeah, I like
To
that.
each his or her own.
Yeah.
If that's what you wanna do,
Yep.
I've got my jacket in the car, but I have no intention. Right now.
No.
You need a ride or do you?
No, I drove, I'm good.
Okay.
Bye-bye, Ed. Thank you for asking.
Okay. Then let's go. Shavua Tov. Great to see you.
Yes, Shavua Tov, good to see you.
Are you walking or?
We're walking, yes, of course.
I'll drive you. I'll drive you.
No, we're walking, we're walking.
Please let me drive you.
No, we like to walk.
Yeah, he'd rather walk.
It's a good exercise.
Why should I walk nowhere? I like to roll.
I thought, you're riding your bicycle, you're gonna put hand on your shoulder.
Very good, okay. Shvato, Shvato, everybody. Good.
Marshall, thank you for reading Torah for us, Marshall. Marshall, thank you for reading Torah for us. For reading Torah.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I'm gonna just say goodbye and thank you.
I just said goodbye and thank you.
You want me to wait? Okay, yeah. Okay.
Everyone have a beautiful week. Always have a good one.
Okay. Yaakov, he's serving in the Dominican Republic, so he's in the DRA. He graduated last year, and he's been in the DRA a little over 2 years in the program.
I've seen it so many times, I think she needs to put something there.